Hey there. Welcome to the DMZ America podcast for Monday, December 22nd, 2025. Coming to you from the left, I am editorial cartoonist Ted Rall.
And coming to you from the crumbling right, Scott Stantis, editorial cartoonist.
Always good to see the crumbling, except that it's not from the left. We're crumbling too. Well, we're pre-crumbled. So
yeah, at our age, yes, that's absolutely true. Hey, listen, I wanted to apologize to our listeners and followers that last week I came down with the flu and not
Variant
COVID.
K.
And it sucks. This flu never goes away, ever. It's going to be with us and with me forever.
For the rest of your life.
It's not the thing that's going to kill me.
So is that sweater a symptom of your flu?
Well, I thought ugly sweater. What the hell, man? I mean, come on. This
Wait, is that a Native American that I see
that's
there?
The Chicago Blackhawks.
An indigenous? Is this a Chicago Blackhawks
ugly sweater? It is.
Sweater? It is? Oh,
well, Go Hawks.
Actually, I've seen far uglier sweaters.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And I've seen back in the day.
I can't help noting the Nazi colors.
What's okay?
Red, black, and white.
'Tis the season, Ted. 'Tis the season.
In honor of Turning Point.
If you can't fight them, give them Czechoslovakia. That's what I say.
Before we do politics, Manila and I were just talking a minute ago. I think you probably caught the end of that over on the TMI show about this deal with the Schultz estate. So basically, Sony, which already bought they had a small minority stake in the Peanuts Holdings LLC, which is of course the Peanuts comic strip company and all of its associated intellectual property. Now they are going to accrue 80% of the whole company. So basically, Sony will own Peanuts. And any thoughts about that?
Well, I've talked about this many times on our podcast over the years, in that I've seen this conflagration of this flood of Peanuts products. I was just out at Walgreens picking up a prescription, decided to go through the Christmas aisle. And Ted, it's stunning how much of it is Peanuts based. Still, a comic strip that when Sparky, Charles Schultz, his nickname was Sparky. Mm-hmm. Ted and I both knew him and worked with him.
I think he died in 2000.
Yes, 2000. So it's been 25 years since he created anything new. He did not want the strip to continue. He was explicit in his will about this, and in
numerous interviews.
And I'm assuming you were an executive at United Features.
I talked to him personally, and he told me that too.
Yeah, he said it to anyone who'd listen. And what's going on? 25 years later, they're still running the strip, and they're still making Peanuts tchotchke.
Look, I was in the room when that decision came down. Can
you tell us about it?
Yeah, totally. So, Sparky had died, and I was, as you know, my job was to find new talent, new features. I signed you, for example. You weren't a new feature, but you were new to the syndicate.
Yeah.
And so. As I was very excited because Peanuts was in, I think, 1,200 newspapers around the world at the time.
Well over 2,000.
But not at the time that he died. So we lied about that. So we were, in reality, it was 1,200. And by the way, there were lots of funny stories about that. Like, for example, it ran in Times of India, and we had all sorts of contractual requirements, like you can't fuck with the strip, you can't edit it, you just have to run it as is. But in India, which Times of India was the largest English language newspaper in the world, Snoopy was brown.
Really?
And it was like, because it's India, we're brown. But the gang wasn't. The Peanuts gang wasn't brown, only Snoopy. And it was like the only thing that we just turned a blind eye to because it was the biggest. Anyway, the point is I was in the room and I was coming up, trying to brainstorm and try to figure out how we could, what new strips we could sign and what old strips we could add to fill all those new vacancies that were going to occur following the death of Sparky Schultz. And my boss, who we'll call Lisa Clem Wilson, because her name is Lisa Clem Wilson, told me, we're gonna run reruns. And I said, oh, you mean temporarily, like for a little while we try to figure out what we're doing? She's like, oh no. I said, but Sparky, and she's like, Peanuts is different. Like I said, I was like, I thought you were against strips by dead guys. She's like, Peanuts is its known category. And I'm like, yeah, it makes a lot of money. Isn't that basically the only the category? And she was like,
yeah,
you know, that was the exact conversation as I remembered. I would swear I would swear on a Bible that that's what transpired.
That makes sense. I mean, it does make money. It never got dropped by any papers. It was always, Peanuts classics. They weren't hiding that this was, or pretending that this was somehow new material. But yeah, it's amazing how that estate has kept that rolling for a quarter of a century. And now they've sold it. And by the sales price, you didn't mention it was somewhere north of $500 million.
Yes, that's correct.
Boy,
457 million American, 630 million Canadian. Literally, that's what it was done in Canadian dollars.
Why?
I guess the company's in Canada.
Sony?
Well, the subsidiary organization that bought it. I mean, they're saying either that. You know what? No, that can't be right. This article probably was just sourced from a Canadian paper. That's right.
Okay. Well, that makes some sense. Yeah, but close to 500. But I'm just thinking, Charles Schulz was always in the top 5 best paid entertainers for, I think 5 years into starting the strip, which was in 1950. So 1955 until his death in 2000, he made in excess of $50 million a year. That was his take.
That was real money back then.
That was when that was a real money. It was $1.5 billion it billed every year, right? In ancillary sales alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's astounding.
The money that rolled in there into that empire was.
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding anti-capitalist, I love capitalism to a degree, but I'm also, first off, the guy who created it, who is saintly in many, what he created. If you look back at Peanuts, if you haven't done so, do it. Look back at Peanuts, particularly from the 60s and early 70s. It was a creation of singular genius.
True.
And the guy who created it deserved better when he said, I want it to end when I
have the complete 50-year run in print. That's how obsessed I am.
And
I've read them all several times.
And he actually he actually stopped the strip before he died. If you remember, he died the same day the last Sunday ran. That's amazing. I mean, so the connection of the creator to the creation is undeniable. And yet they continue to make money off of it, which I don't know that they had to. His widow, I mean, he made $50 million a year for 50 years.
Yeah, Jeannie, when is it enough?
Yeah, and does this hurt the brand? My grandson, who's 2, who's not allowed to watch television or look at screens, knows who Snoopy is. I mean, that's astounding. That should be based on its legacy. I don't know. I mean, you be you, Jeannie, but it just seems weird to me to continue to make bank on something that when the creator, your deceased husband, expressly said, I don't want that to happen.
Mr. A. Lee says the Peanuts thing has gotten on Ted's nerves, and I think honestly, Scott, I think on your nerves and also on the nerves of every cartoonist who knows anything about this. I mean, it's important to understand, like, look, Charles Schulz wasn't a saintly man. He cheated on his wife. He did all sorts of things that were not perfect, but he was someone we all looked up to in terms of as a creative force in the industry. And we all respected the fact that he really wanted to gracefully step aside. Once he was stepping aside, he was going to take his strip with him. And he felt, because he knew, as well as all of us knew, how hard it was to break into this industry, he wanted to create some space for something new. And that's something that, like, all cartoonists really can relate to. And
sure.
And it's honestly just sort of like, do we know better? Yeah, we know better because this is our industry. It's a small group of people, and we thought about it and discussed it. And this is basically, like it or not, this is cartoonist culture. Left-wing cartoonists, right-wing cartoonists, everybody, urban, rural, comic strip, gag cartoon, we all agree on this. And Charles Schulz agreed with it too. And then it's like, the widow, she's going crazy. It's like she has plenty of money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
for those
so
of you
yeah,
who
it
do not
does
know,
bother me. It really fucking bothers me.
Charles Schulz lived fairly simply is not the right word. Well, it is the right word, really, because what he loved to do was cartoon. It's all he ever wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But with the kind of money he had, he drove a Mercedes sports car. That was his indulgence. And the other indulgence is he built a ice skating rink
Mm-hmm. In
in
Petaluma,
where
not
Santa
Santa
Rosa.
Cruz, Santa Rosa, yeah, north of San Francisco.
And that was so, but even that was a money-making operation. If you ever went there, it was always crowded.
Sure.
But his studio was in there as well.
By the
And
way, I think the house and the studio have been sold, right? I think.
No, the studio has become a museum.
Oh, okay.
And so my point is that he lived simply, so he didn't spend his money. He wasn't buying jets, or he wasn't buying,
Right.
He
was from Minnesota. He wasn't
a Jeffrey Epstein bro. He wasn't anything like that. So he had to have left behind hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's true.
My point being that when is enough? And so that's the, and making room for other cartoonists. But that leads me into another issue, which people listening and watching may not know about. And that's look at the comics page. Why isn't anyone under 60 reading the comics page? Well, because most of the comic strips are done by dead guys. We already mentioned Peanuts. You have Blondie. You have High and Lois and Beetle Bailey.
Hagar.
I mean, the list was, I actually did, and Ted, this was many years ago. This was in the this was in the teens, the 20 teens, when I did a live webcast, weekly webcast for the Chicago Tribune about cartooning. And I actually took the Chicago Tribune comics page to task. And I held it up. I went, dead, 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 dead. And Ted, half the comic strips in the Chicago Tribune, America's greatest newspaper, were drawn by dead guys.
Now, the thing is, that's the fault of the editors at the papers who buy
lazy.
these strips, but it's also the fault of the syndicates. In many cases, it's not the fault of the dead cartoonists, because a lot of them worked for King Feature Syndicate, that their contracts basically allows the syndicate to hire someone else to do their strip after they stop doing it. That wasn't true about Schulz. That was like that was a decision that his widow made, because she controlled the estate. And so, that it is, I mean, I get it. When you're dead, your wishes may or may not be granted. I personally want to be buried in a pyramid, and I want all my friends to be buried alive in my crypt. But I doubt that my chance, because I'm a cynic, I know that people won't respect my dying wishes.
That's because people are bastards, Ted. You know this.
I know this. My cat should also be buried alive. But and yes, Art Stitched, Schulz is revered in Santa Rosa, California. I would say, yeah, and in many other places. Thank you very much to Well Dressed Nerd, who just became the DMZ America show's first official monthly supporter. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. And Well Dressed Nerd says, I swear to only troll Ted during TMI.
Okay.
Thank you, nerd. Much appreciated. All right, so that's enough inside baseball, probably.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to get this anywhere else, folks. And
that's true.
I just want one last thought. Tell me what you think of this, Ted, because I have thoughts, as I so often do. Cartoonists, especially old geezer cartoonists, older than me, I know it's hard to believe, but who have done, like For Better or For Worse, Foxtrot. I'm trying to think of some of the other strips that they do reruns during the week. They do original work for the Sunday strip, but that's it. I have a serious issue with this, just because there's a lot of original work.
I'm against reruns.
It's reruns, which is fine. But those always have made a lot of money for a lot of people on television. Used to do it for radio.
I was against those too.
Is it okay to do it in the comics page? Okay, you and I are on the same page. No pun intended. That
no, not as long. This is like my take on immigration. It's like, as long as there's a single unemployed American who could be retrained, could be trained to perform a job, the United States should never issue an H-1B visa. Similarly, as long as there's a single unemployed, decent cartoonist who is not getting into a paper, there's no business running a rerun.
No, it's selfish. Listen, I'm looking at retiring soon, and trying to consider what to do with various projects and various things. And I'm really, part of it was, do I want to be, what do I want my legacy to be? You know what? My legacy is established. I'm not going to add or subtract to it at this stage of my life. So, walking away, making room for someone new, it makes all the sense in the world. But it's selfish. It's just greedy, it seems to me. It's greedy on the part of the creator. It's greedy on the part of the syndicates. It's lazy on the part of the newspapers. Like, whoa, the editors are, me no have to change tune, stay same, high Lois,
stay safe.
And that's all they're trying to do now. The editors, and it's kind of pathetic. But there you are. So that's enough of that. But I'm just saying that I'm glad. I've never asked you about that, so I'm glad you we're kind of on the.
No, I did fight back stridently in that meeting, and I was basically steamrolled. It was like, there's just too much. It was one of those like, there's too much money. We're not going to walk away from this. I mean, it's true that if 1,200 newspapers had suddenly had vacancies, United Media would not have gotten filled all 1,200 of those spots. We would have been lucky to have 500 or 400 of them, no matter what we came up with to fill it with. And so it's like, that was what it boiled down to. It was like, well, this syndicate, which is struggling and did go out of business ultimately, couldn't afford, or felt like it couldn't afford, the financial hit. And I think that's basically what it boiled down to, but it still was the wrong thing to do.
I agree.
So let's talk about the year ahead. I mean, so this is a makeup show, and this is not the last show of the year. We're going to be doing one later this week is the plan. But, I think we talked about doing it on Friday. But yeah. But
not Thursday.
No, Thursday is Christmas Day, and that's when I was born 2,000 years ago in a cradle in Bethlehem, as you remember. Oh wait, no, that didn't happen. So anyway, we will be talking. Yes, not to mention that happened in June. Anyway, so let's go ahead. Oh my God, thank you. We're off to the races. We have another monthly supporter, Tusk PC. Thank you very much.
That's so sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate it. We appreciate that very much.
Appreciated, for real. So now let's talk about 2026. We're going to obviously our bail is politics.
Let me set the table real quick and just go through my list of what happened in 25. And there's a lot that actually is setting the table for drama and hijinks, which will ensue in 2026.
Oh, thank God.
Real quick, my list, and you tell me if you agree, Ted. I have Gaza was
that's a good one.
Everyone's view of Israel and changed views of Middle East politics. Trump is now 24/7 again. I mean, how many people have you talked to already said, I'm tired of thinking of that son of a bitch every day? I mean, you and I were political cartoonists, and before Trump came on the scene, we didn't think about the president every day. It just wasn't part of the lifestyle. Now he's every day, every stinking day. Ukraine, of course. The global politics, this is a big one, and we'll talk about it for 2026, is global politics shifting to the hard right, not just right. A new pope from Chicago, I might add. Take that, Green Bay. AI and tech. And so where does all that, and also the future, I'd like to, if we can, take the last 10 minutes of this podcast, Ted, and talk about editorial cartooning in the year 2026, if there's going to be any changes. I think this will be the year. This is going to be a significant year for editorial cartooning. I'll talk about that when we get there. But as far as my list goes, I mean, all of these issues bleed into 2026 and are going to hit critical mass. Gaza, what happens next? Phase 2 of the peace plan, making air quotes here, always effective for our audio listeners. The peace plan. What does that mean? They're still waiting for Hamas to disarm. I'm not sure they're doing that, and Israel doesn't seem to be convinced that they are. But will Gaza then will settle down, and we'll see what the plan going forward is, what the rebuild looks like. How much you want to bet some offshoot of Trump Enterprises will be involved in rebuilding it? What do you think, Ted?
Well, I don't think there's going to be any rebuilding for the foreseeable future. I think
really?
I mean, look, here's the thing. If you were an investor, would you invest in Gaza, given the security situation? I mean, I'm reminded of the back in the mid 90s, a company called Albras, what were they called? Unical. That's what it is. Union Oil of California. They conceived building an oil and gas pipeline across Afghanistan, from the oil fields in Turkmenistan all the way to the Indian Ocean, to the deep sea port in Multan, Pakistan. And basically from, under the Taliban, there were big negotiations. I mean, George W. Bush even flew representatives of the Taliban to Texas to meet with Taliban officials to discuss the pipeline project back when the Taliban first ran Afghanistan. The Taliban gifted him a giant Afghan carpet. I mean, the point is this was a serious project. They've never built a single inch of that pipeline because the security situation is untenable. Like if you built that pipeline, you'd constantly have someone threatening to blow it up unless they were paid off, or maybe not threatening to blow it up and just blow it up. I think similarly, if you're building a hotel in Gaza, how long is that hotel going to be standing before Hamas or someone else wants to blow it up? Not long. So, I mean, I think that, there's no plan there's no credible plan at all for a post-Hamas Gaza. There's no plan for what regime would run it. The Palestinian Authority seems like the most likely candidate, but the Israelis are standing in the way of that happening. And it's not clear that the Palestinian Authority even could do it, even if they were charged with it. So honestly, I don't think there's going to be any rebuilding at all. I think that this is going to be, Gaza is going to spin out. It's going to be dependent completely on NGOs and foreign aid. The people are going to become, the misery and the starvation is going to continue, perhaps not as much as it did during the total Israeli blockade of food and water, but it's still going to be, it's going to be a pit. And I don't think anything's happening. It's not going to get any better. And all this talk to me of like, money coming in from the Emirates and all that, and the Saudis, that's just vapor. Nothing is going to happen there.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think it behooves them to rebuild it. Them, by them, I mean Israel. And I'll tell you why, because they can build it in a way that then fits into their security mentality. And so, listening devices, tracking devices, all sorts of high-tech AI stuff that can tell you where everyone is at all times, every time.
They have that, yeah.
And so I think, and will there be a Gaza Lago? I think that's a real possibility.
I don't think there's any possibility because I don't think that there's any governance. And you can't, if you don't have law and order, you can't build. You can't have anything like that. You're not going to have law and order. I mean, Hamas is literally the only game in town, in the same way that you might not like it, but it's the same way that the Taliban were the only game in town in Afghanistan. Again, we didn't like it, but it just is true. Hamas had basically destroyed all of Fatah and all of their other rivals in the Strip. So there's no competition for them. Even if you got rid of Hamas, as an entity, all the people you're going to recruit to your new post-Hamas government are going to be former Hamas guys. So that's just because they're the people who have experience, as cops and civil servants and all those things. So, I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. I agree with you. The Israelis should basically co-opt and from their own point of view, a safe and secure and controlled Gaza and West Bank is in their national interest. But they have not pursued that. I mean, the Israelis are so politically suicidal. They toppled Assad. I mean, why would you want to do that? Now you have ISIS and Al-Qaeda on your border. You did have a secular socialist leftist dictator on your border who was fighting the Islamists. I mean, these are the people who are overthrowing Hezbollah and creating power vacuums on their own border. And I think the real action in 2026, Scott, is going to be in the West Bank, where the war is going to heat up between the settlers and the Palestinians.
I think the settlers have definitely made some very ugly moves, and are going to continue to do that and up their game, as it were. Let's just tick down this list real quick, if we might. How about Ukraine? What's your take on what 2026 holds? I think the my take real quick, the corruption in Ukraine, Zelensky, and the farce that this is a democracy, that ship is sailing, and Americans are really losing patience with this whole process. What do you think there'll be peace in 2020? It seems Putin seems reluctant to kind of like, okay, I can go along with this. He always seems to come back like 2 days later with, okay, and by the way, I also want to control France. I mean,
nah, that's totally not true. I mean, like,
no.
you can hate Vladimir Putin, but you've got to admit he's consistent in his demands.
But the demands, well, yes, but there doesn't seem to be any give on his part. And I think
why should there be? I mean, after all,
because
there wasn't much give on the United States side
because he can get
after we won in 1945 against the Japanese. I mean, the Russians completely destroyed they won the war.
No, they haven't. They've won the war in those areas. They haven't won the war. Don't forget, this was a full-fledged invasion, and that did not succeed.
Anyway, what's a non-full-fledged invasion? Why is that like the official branding of the war in Ukraine? We never say like the full-fledged invasion of Iraq by the United States, even though it was. I mean, what's the difference? Scott, you are muted. I am not hearing you. Is that on my end? No. Scott, you are I see you are muted. Please demutify yourself. I see your little magnifying, down on the lower left. See that? There you go. Oh, now say something. There you are. Oh, something's grabbing you. I don't hear you now. Sorry, Scott. Here, I'll bring in Robbie.
It's live TV.
I have someone to talk to. So you're still muted, Scott.
Don't hear you.
Scott has Bluetooth issues. His Bluetooth devices are always grabbing his voice.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Don't hear you, Scott.
Nothing.
Sorry. Nada. No. So, all right. So we'll still talk about nothing, Scott. Sorry.
How about now?
Oh, there you go.
Now we got you.
Okay. All right. I'll take you back out, Scott. Sorry, Robbie.
No, I like seeing Robbie.
All right. There he is. Okay. So
that's his special. It's going to church on Sunday T-shirt.
Robbie always has thoughts. So anyway, so you were saying, Scott, about Ukraine.
No, I think Ukraine and
why is it a full-fledged invasion, by the way?
Because they were marching towards, remember, the glorious Russian army was marching onto Kiev, and we will take Kiev in a week.
They could do it. They thought they could overthrow the government.
Yeah, it didn't work.
So
that would be a failure. So he didn't get everything he wanted. Yes, it's a fail. If you're looking to accomplish something and you don't accomplish something, then that's a failure.
That's ridiculous. That's like sort of saying, like, if you go out on it's like saying you go out on a date with someone and you're like hoping to get laid and you only get to second base. Did you fail? I mean, yes. I don't know. That's an absolutist point of view.
But that was their intention, Ted. Putin's intention was.
But by the way, why is it always the full-fledged invasion of Ukraine?
I understand your question. I just don't know how to answer it. An invasion's an invasion.
Can we just say an invasion?
Yes.
I think what it was. I think it was punitive. So I mean, Ukraine's the size of Texas. You don't invade a country that's that big with 200,000 men. Half of that's logistics. So of that, you have maybe 80,000 combat troops. And I think that what it was is a political message that Putin was trying to send. It's like, here's what's going to happen.
Stop fucking with us.
Stop screwing around with us. And originally, I want to point this out, it worked because the Yukis were meeting with the Russians in Constantinople. They were talking. They had a peace agreement. And then Boris Johnson, under the behest of one senile President Joe Biden, blew the whole thing up.
That's true.
So I think that what happened is that Putin thought he was going to be able to bluff. You don't invade a country that big with that's all of a force. When Hitler went into Poland, which is not Ukraine, he went over 1 million men to take over half the country. So I think it was a political move, and he ended up finding himself into a war by accident.
I don't know. I think you're right to a point. And by the way, not versus the former senile president versus the current senile president. Which, oh my God, that speech. I'm sorry. I think the Russians thought that the Ukrainians would topple. And so going into 2026, I really do think that the support, particularly in the United States, and possibly in Europe, is really eroding for Zelensky and his non-democratic government. And where it goes from here is the pressure. Putin could get 90% of what he wants. He can get the Donbass and the other region, which I always forget the other region, down so they can have a clear shot into the Crimea. Yes. So, I mean, he can get virtually everything he wants. It just seems curious that he would, maybe it's just, he feels it's just part of negotiating, and we're going to nickel and dime over some of the other little cities along that corridor. But I suspect we're going to see the end of the Ukraine conflict in 2026. It's going to come. You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think it's going to go on because Ukraine wants security guarantees from the West. That's what started the whole war in the first place. If God decides to put your country between two major military blocks, both of which are stronger than you, your smartest move is to be neutral and be friends with both, but don't take any sides.
That's
true.
The
Ukrainians, for whatever reason, have decided they're going to throw. Well, we know why, is because the CIA overthrew their government back in 2014. So I mean, it's a Western junta. Let's be honest. That's what it is, and that's going to be the sticking point. And I think as this thing goes on, as the butcher's bill gets higher, I think politically the appetite in Russia is going to be to the point where we are not going to take this half measures. We are going to stop playing around, and we're going to start kicking some ass, and we're going to show people what the Russian army can do.
And there's a lot of internal pressure from Russia, believe it or not.
I think you have far too much faith in the Russian army, by the way. I do not believe they've shown that they are not terribly good at what they do.
There was a Austrian corporal who thought the same thing.
Yeah. Well, but in this case, it shows that they're grinding to a halt. They have come to a stalemate against a much weaker country. The perception was much weaker, and what happened? So I don't know. I think that Putin's got to be looking and saying, "God, these guys suck," and they do.
I couldn't disagree more. My assessment is closer to Robbie's, which is like, first of all, Russia is deliberately fighting with like one hand tied behind its back. They're not giving it their all. It's a side project, and that's why they relied so much on mercenaries. And also, they're fighting not just Ukraine, but the combined force of U.S. and European technology. That is supporting Ukraine, and they're advancing on the battlefield. Maybe not lightning quick, but they are advancing. It's not World War I.
This is a quagmire now, Ted. You'd have to admit this is a quagmire. They're not moving. There's 100 yards here, 100 yards there. Either way, that's where we are. They're not moving.
I think that was true. I don't think that's true now.
I think what it is that this is
no evidence to the contrary, I guess.
I think what this is a classic war of attrition, and I think what people need to realize, and I could be dead wrong on this, the Russians don't see this as a war against Ukraine.
Right.
They see this as a war against the United States. And so it's in Russia's interest to drag this thing out for two reasons. One, the more money that the United States keeps spending on this stupid project, the more inflation it creates, the more pain it puts on the home front. And basically, we're really running the risk of Ukraine becoming our next Vietnam, and economically we'll pay a price. I think this is the game that they're playing.
It's optional for us, Scott. If we want, let's face it. We thought Vietnam was existential, right? It wasn't. Nothing happened, right? We're still here. America went on. We got to listen to the Bee Gees. Everything was cool. But like for the Yukis, for the Russians, they're right next door. They have to have that they have to have a friendly state or a neutral state on their border. They've got to have it. They can't do without it. So they've got to win. They can't let it go. They can't walk away. And not to mention, they don't have supply line issues. We do. I mean, they're right there.
Yeah, but our supply line is through Poland, which is still pretty unencumbered to get.
We have to get to Poland first.
And I think the Europeans are actually going all in on this much more now. That's the one thing.
They're insane, but yes.
Well, I agree with you. They're nervous. The NATO countries, and especially up there in the Baltics, are nervous about what Putin does next, and I think they have a right to be nervous. They should.
Macron is literally telling the French people that Russia is going to invade France. Be serious.
Well, how hard can that be?
Well, you can't have it both
Come into
sides.
Germany,
Well,
maybe.
well, I mean, you can't have it both ways here. So, I mean, here's the fundamental flaw with your argument, Scott, is that one, if the Russian army is a joke and if they suck, then the West has absolutely nothing to worry about.
True.
Where on the flip side, if there is a real chance that Russia could march into Paris, then to say that the Russian army sucks is wrong, and I'm right with my assessment.
No, well, they're not going to march into France. The Russian army is not the American, and especially the media, tend to build up armies. Do you remember the Republican Guard in Iraq was a 1,000,000-man army, and it was unbeatable? And first off, I would say look at the war with Iran to just prove that no, they're pretty damn beatable. And then we went in there and cut through them like a hot knife through butter. It was, and that's, the same as being said about the Russian army, that there's rumors that the guys aren't getting paid, that the supply lines and the food isn't getting to them. All of this is to say they're not the vaunted force that you think that they are. And okay, well, so you guys do not believe there will be a peace agreement in 2026?
No.
I'm between you and Robbie on that. I think
I'm wrong.
I think there's a possibility. I
do too. I think it would behoove.
I don't think it's a done deal, but I'd think it's a strong possibility. I think it's 50-50.
Okay, let's keep going down the list here. Let's go to global politics, shifting to the hard right.
Oh, by the way, before we do, want to answer a question from Archstitch. Off-topic question: what color are Clovis's eyes? It's for a small project I'm working on. They're golden, and
they are.
But he's a Russian blue, and so he has a little bit of green tint in there. But anyway, go ahead.
And he looks at you like he wants to eat your eyeballs. He's just waiting for you to die.
He's a cat.
Yes, he is. Okay, so global politics shifting right, with some rare exception. For the most part, that's in Europe. Country after country seems to be. We just
and in Latin
France.
America.
Well, and in America, although I'm kind of curious about where that's a different conversation we can have, because you do have the younger folks thinking that socialism is A-okay. With social democracy, and then you have the older Democrats going, "No, we've got to be corporatists." It's like, well, that's certainly helped the middle class. Not at all, but I mean, so will this trend continue? I suspect it will. And the number one issue that's pushing it, and this is right down Robbie's road, is immigration. People are tired. They're looking at
inflation, which are also issues for European countries.
Well, it's got it. Now, what's driving their inflation?
Well, there's a lot of causes, but blowing up that Nord Stream pipeline probably didn't help. Their energy prices are way up now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is this a trend that's going to continue in 2026? Both of you sound like, yeah, it will.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Immigration has slowed down from like North Africa and places into Europe, but so many millions of new arrivals, are still being processed culturally and politically through the system, that there's a lot of resistance and hatred and resentment. I think that's going to continue. I can't see that changing. And then there's, inflation. There's no reason to think that's going to stop.
Does inflation fuel the conservatives into power, you think?
It fuels
opposition.
It's just opposition, right? So it's like, let's put it this way: if the inflation were to continue, you could see a left-wing what's the word I'm looking for? Blowback, like in a year or two or three, where a strong left-wing movement in countries like Spain, Greece, Italy, France could like take advantage if they're able to formulate an appealing message and say, listen, this is the elites, this is the wealthy, the bankers are screwing you. We will redistribute wealth. That's a message that Europeans are open to.
Well, let's fold this over to, pardon me, the elections, our midterms here in the United States. My guess is I think the Democrats are going to do pretty well. They're starting to get their footing. They're starting to find the messaging. And it's powerful. I mean, affordability. I mean, it's a very smart, because that's what, and you can't.
Except this is a replay of Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump was really good at diagnosing problems, but not at solving them. This feels like that. Democrats know there's an affordability issue. I haven't heard a single proposal that would credibly or even incredibly fix it.
I agree, but I don't know that from a very practical political perspective, just running a campaign. I'm I think the Democrats can start screaming about the Trump taxes, AKA the tariffs. That's what's driving this, even though it is driving part of it, but it's not driving all of it. That's a winning strategy, and it's a winning calling call. And Trump trying to redirect people's attentions to immigration, to any other topic but the economy. But it's the economy, stupid. That's it, 100%. Because you go out to eat, you go out to get groceries, you go get gas. All those prices have gone up. Trump promised that he'd lower them, and inflation is a very tricky beast, by the way. And I'm not trying to give Trump an out, but the fact that he's also spending like a drunken Democrat, and that's raising the American debt to such high levels that they have to print money to pay it, which of course creates inflation. It's a tough beast to tame, and he hasn't. And you can't go out there and do a George H.W. Bush and go and do that ridiculous speech he gave earlier in the week at the national address, yelling at us that everything's okay, the economy's great, best economy we've ever had. You can't do that when, are you going to believe, it's one of Ted Rall's favorite lines, are you going to believe me or your lying eyes? I think the Democrats are going to do quite well, better than I.
House is going to be Democratic.
Yes.
How about the Senate?
Yes.
Right.
I think they're going to turn the Senate as well. Probably 1 or 2 votes. It's going to be,
and then that means we just go into gridlock for 26 to 28.
Yeah. You go, and you're going to have a house full of Democrats who are like stupid.
Lawfare, investigations.
Yes.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
And meanwhile, both political parties continue to ignore the things that the American people are screaming at them about. Reindustrializing the country, increasing wages, making it where I can afford to buy a house, making it where maybe I can go get some groceries for under $100 an hour. Neither political party cares about that.
Nope.
And
I think that's where you have a very real chance of maybe potentially a third party erupting, which we desperately need.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, but I don't see either party right now, the Greens or the Libertarian, really positioning themselves in any reasonable way. Because I think you're right. I think this is the libertarian moment. I thought 2 years ago, the Libertarians had a phenomenal candidate for president, and they blew it because they said, no, we also want to legalize sex with anything you want. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, really? That's the issue you're going to go on the.
Let me ask y'all this, because y'all are both very smart. What are the odds of populists?
Are you in the right podcast?
I think so. What are the odds of populists winning seats in primaries against the corporatist establishment types in both parties and then working together? So think a multi-party Freedom Caucus where they work together for the sole purpose of screwing the elites on both parties.
That could be very effective, although I don't think that time has come yet.
We've got Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. They are laying the blueprints, and Jeffrey Epstein is who you have to thank for it.
I think if you get people like that elected, I think it's not impossible for that kind of alliance and realignment of alliance of convenience to form. My problem is you can't get them elected. These days you need $5, $10, $15 million to win a House seat, easy, maybe more.
I would run against Ryan Zinke. But I can't. I don't have any money.
Do you have $15 million lying around?
No.
Right.
You don't.
And so the point is, that's the problem. Is money is going to keep populists out, because the kind of people who are populists tend not to have money, right?
Well, I see what I think, Robbie, if I'm reading you correctly, is that the coalition, there'd be an umbrella that creates a coalition. You can be a Democrat or a Republican and say, listen, we want to get shit done. That's
you would
our
need
goal.
An organization. You'd need like sort of a Emily's List on steroids, right? Where it's sort of like an organization that decides that recruits candidates, populist candidates, and then finances them in districts where they have a chance of winning.
Because it's easier to hijack a plane than it is to build one. And I think that's what people need to realize. And it's time really for Americans to realize, just because you're a Republican or a Democrat does not mean you're my enemy. How about we actually put the American people first? The party and the label be damned.
Well, let's talk about housing real
Better
quick.
250 years late than never.
But let's talk about housing. I mean, it makes me crazy. That's why I'm sighing. There's always a lesson in history because nothing is new. There's
True.
nothing new. America has faced this housing issue before, following World War II, when you had 1 million plus men coming back from Europe and from Asia. And the housing crunch was unbelievable. It was expensive. There wasn't nearly enough of it. So what did we do? We put our nose down and we put it to the grindstone, and we said, okay, we're going to start doing things like Levittown. For those of you, there's a massive housing boom. Get rid of or at least significantly cut back on regulations so that you can start building houses and start building inventory. Now we have a serious problem. Contractors say they can't find guys who can work for them. Now, a lot of it came from people who ICE sent off to Uganda or Eritrea, wherever the hell they sent them. All of this, there's all this connective tissue. One thing does lead to another. And in this circumstance right now, we can fix this. The Democrats could very easily say, listen, we're going to get rid of the Trump tariffs. We're going to do the Trump taxes, whatever you want to call them. We're going to lower the prices of building materials, and we're going to start building houses like crazy so that people can. I don't
understand, Scott. Why do we have to build any new houses in a country with 20 million abandoned homes?
Well, there's that. I was looking at, I was reading about school, Chicago, for instance. Here's a great example. Chicago City Schools. Chicago alone has 20 empty school buildings.
Yeah. So why build a new one?
They could, you could convert that tomorrow. And within 6 months, you would have thousands of new units to rent.
Mm-hmm.
They won't do it. They're sitting there fallow, like Ted says. Yeah, absolutely. You can do things like that, but I'm not sure why they're empty.
Like I know in New York, there's been, we have all the big cities have major problems post-pandemic. Basically, nobody needs to live in a city anymore, and they're expensive, so people leave. And there's been talk about converting empty office buildings in the financial district to apartments. There's practical zoning problems because, you have to have you can't have rooms that don't have windows because of fire egress laws, right? Well, office buildings, most space doesn't have windows. So what do you do, right? So there's those kind of concerns. But like a school, lots of public schools have been converted to housing in New York and around the world, around the country. And they make for cool buildings too. Yeah,
I would. You could. I would keep a lot of the old architecture. There's a video series I love to watch. It's SB Mowing. He has a lawn care service in, of all places, Wichita, Kansas. He has a huge following on YouTube, and he'll go up to houses that are deserted
and I gotta go downstairs
and clean up the yard. And it's kind of cool. It's one of those procedural videos that are just fun to watch. My point is Wichita, fucking Kansas, Wichita. He never runs out of. He does at least one lawn a week, and he's been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, how all these houses are deserted. There's an old guy there, died. The family can't decide what to do with it. Well, Ted had a proposal. I'm not a big fan of letting the government step in, but in this instance, Ted talked about empty buildings, empty spaces in New York City. You can keep it empty for 2 years. That's it. If it's still empty at 2 years and we've told you got to do something with it, then, the housing authority takes it over. The same can be true in Wichita, Kansas, which I'm sure has homeless people. The same is true in Kansas City. The same is true here in Alabama.
Your property rights end when you become a derelict owner. Scott, anywhere in the country, if you live in a half decent town, let's say you don't take care of your house, right? Let's say the grass, you never cut the grass. It's overgrown with weeds. You never paint the house. The roof is falling down. It looks like fucking Grey Gardens. Well, the town is going to ticket you. And they're probably at some point going to seize your house, right? So why is it different for commercial property owners?
Well, I agree. And I have to believe, there's a lot of, like everywhere else in the country, you walk around and see all these retail spaces that are empty.
Yeah.
Whole malls are a building, like a restaurant building, is empty. And you're going, think
of all the community groups that could use those spaces elderly center for the elderly, center for after school center for kids, rec center.
Let me ask the people who are watching now if they could comment, because I have to believe, and I don't know this for a fact, but I have to believe, for instance, there's one of our favorite Mexican restaurants here closed down because the rent got too high. And so the building's been laying empty for the last 3 years. There has to be some advantage to that property owner to have that be empty versus having a tenant. Has to be. That's a write-off of some kind. There has to be an advantage to people.
It's a write-off.
Yeah, it's a write-off. So if you own enough properties, if you have a large portfolio of properties, shit, why not have like a lot of them be empty if there's no penalty, there's no cost to you?
As you guys probably know, and Trump has benefited from this, there is no real estate and real estate development in particular are the sectors that are most benefited by the federal tax code. It's written just for them. It's hard to lose money. I mean, just think about how crazy it is. Depreciation alone. So in real estate, you can buy a $1 million building that appreciates to become a $3 million building, and at the same time, take a tax deduction on depreciation because it's like rotting like an old cheese, according to the tax code. I mean, which is it? Is it has it just tripled in value, or has it depreciated? I mean, you shouldn't be able to take depreciation allowance on something that has increased in value. But yet
I don't know how this impacts y'all where y'all live, but here in Montana, a big part of the problem, especially with houses, is the inheritance tax. Someone dies, I want to leave the house to my kids or grandkids or whatever. The property, the values are so high that they can't afford to pay the tax.
Yeah.
And
how is that possible though, Robbie? I mean, you've got
inflation?
Like the limitation on, I mean, you don't pay property, you don't pay inheritance tax on anything over what, $1 million or something like that, more.
Yeah.
So,
well, you got to remember, because here it's ranch country. Remember, you've been here.
yeah.
So if a rancher dies, the ranch has been in his generation, 5 generations, 4 generations, however long it is. The property value
it's $13.99 million.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't pay inheritance tax for a estate that's worth more than 14 million, and if it's a couple, it's 28 million. So I mean, are you telling me that someone who's got a property that's worth 28 million or 14 million dollars, like the person who inherits that can't somehow afford it? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, how many people are inheriting that much money, and couldn't you just partition it and sell off part of it to pay your taxes?
Well, sure. If you want to sell it to Californians, get high rises, and that way you can build condos and just further destroy the state. Yeah, I mean, that's something you can 100% do if you want to roll Yellowstone style. But a lot of people here don't want to do that. That's part of the problem. For little homes like in town, it's not that much of an issue. But the big problem we're having here, especially in the central and eastern part of the state, is whenever these ranchers are dying, their heirs cannot afford the taxes.
That happened in California before Proposition 13 back in the 70s. If either of you remember that my grandparents were about to lose their house, a very small 2-bedroom house in North Hollywood rather. And because the property taxes became so onerous that they were going to lose the house. So yeah, you can, the property tax. Ted, you lived in property tax hell. I mean, you were right next to Connecticut, for Christ's sake, which was Holy Mary, Mother of God.
Actually, no. Actually, New York is not so bad for property taxes, and it's ironic because it's the distressed communities in the New York tri-state area that have the worst property tax rates. So, for example, on Long Island, Riverhead, which is basically a crack and meth zone, has double the property or triple the property tax rates of the Hamptons, which are just nearby.
Here in Montana, there's no sales tax. The only revenue that the state gets is property taxes.
How much is it?
Let me check and see for you real quick.
Because Alabama just went up, and I mean, and Chicago, Illinois continues to, if this will surprise nobody, has continued to jack up all the taxes it can. So the sales tax in Chicago proper is 10.5% to 11%. That's a lot, especially if you're poor. That's incredibly regressive.
So let's see here. So the state... Montana average property tax rate is 0.7 to 0.8% of a home's market value, which is lower than the national average. Then how Montana calculates the tax, Montana sets a taxable rate on market value Residential class tax around 1.35% applied to the market value to be derived as taxable value. Then the mills are applied. You're muted.
Ted, you're muted.
So, guys, we have 5 minutes left. Scott, do you have anything else left on your
Yeah,
list?
I wanted to touch on, but let's spend the last 5 minutes on, in our wheelhouse, and that's editorial cartooning in 2026, and where we talked at the top of this broadcast about what comic strips are going, and it's just going to be done by dead guys apparently. But editorial cartooning, we're in dire straits. We're losing cartoonists. As what few are left, we figure there's how many actual staff cartoonists. And for those of you who may not know, a staff cartoonist defined by us is someone who is on staff, paid a salary. Their primary job is to create editorial cartooning. There is currently 8,
maybe 8 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah. So that will, I suspect, if there's any dip in the economy, and I suspect there will be in 26. Where does that leave editorial cartooning? Or is it dead?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What can we do?
I mean, I don't see. I mean, look, I honestly think, look, it's readers like them. Readers like cartoons. They
love them,
cartoons, and they're popular on social media. The problem's always been the gatekeepers, right? In the era of print newspapers, you had to print editors always had to be educated on how cartoons worked and why they were popular with readers, and for the most part, they accepted that argument and they ran them. The thing is now it's the same thing. I mean, when readers come across them on social media, they like them. What you got to do, though, but the monetization model is broken, because what you would need is for newspaper websites to start running them the way that print newspapers did. And they're running everything else. They're running, words, they're running photos, but they don't run cartoons. It's just an education thing. The problem is I kept thinking that the gatekeepers would figure it out, but they haven't figured it out, and they seem impervious to being educated.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. The popularity of editorial cartooning, I mean, should be enormous, because it's just such an easy thing to view on your phone. They're kind of designed for that, really. I mean, inadvertently, but that's the truth. I think that editorial cartooning, it's been in its death throes. I think it's going to get worse in 2026. It might, if it doesn't go away altogether, it's going to be even more marginalized. I've talked about what I thought the future will hold for us, that some kid going to the University of Central Montana will stumble into the library and come across a best of. There used to be an annual of editorial cartoons called Best of 1990, 2022, whatever. And he or she is going to go through that and be just blown away. Say, what the hell? Do a little more research, start to do it. And the Central Montana Gazette is going to run it. And it's going to be massively successful. And then every editor, because editors are not the smartest of people, are going to go, work in Montana, work here in Dayton, me run, do good cartoon things. And we'll hire cartoonists. And then I think you're going to see an explosion of popularity, because people will not have seen it for years. And it'll seem new and fresh. And that's the future. I won't be around to see it.
No.
I might be around, but I just won't be, aware, because I'm going to be going, I like my cheese.
Well, I mean, look at, for example, Politico. Here on this podcast, we interviewed their staff cartoonist, Matt Worker, about a month ago. And Politico, to my knowledge, has only ever had one Pulitzer Prize, and it was earned by Matt Worker, the cartoonist. And, he's added value at the Politico. He curates a cartoon collection at the Politico.
Doesn't matter.
That they run me sometimes, and it does really well. So I keep thinking, like, okay, so what's up with Axios and Salon and Slate and all these other news websites? Why don't they do the same thing? That's the part that confuses me. Why these national news websites on the left, in the middle, and on the right, why aren't they doing it? I don't know.
Because you'll be shocked to learn that most of the people who work at these websites, even the older guys, don't know how syndication works, Ted. You would be stunned how friggin' ignorant they are about this
Oh,
stuff.
do they think that like if I run it, what's to stop other people from running it and that kind
They
of
don't know
thing?
where they come from. It's really that basic. They don't know where it comes from. And for those of you out there who may not know, and that's perfectly, it's a very niche kind of thing. There's a thing called a syndicate. And so Ted and I do cartoons, and we can do them for, I do it for Chicago Tribune. Ted does it for, the Daily Worker or whatever communist thing he works for. But we can turn around and tell the syndicate, you can distribute this to all your clients, and there can be 400, 500, 600 people, and we get 50% or more of whatever they sell it for. And it's usually pennies, it's dollars. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. But my point is, that's how things get distributed. That's why you can see a cartoon, for instance, in the Chicago Tribune, but you can also see it in a newspaper in Montana or in California or Alaska or India. That's how that works. Ted, you'd be stunned how many editors have no idea that's how it works. None.
That's crazy.
What's stupid?
Sad.
Stupid. Let's call it what
besides
it is.
which, honestly, how hard would it be simply to, Google a cartoonist and then ask them, how do I buy your work? And they would just tell you.
But we also cause trouble. Don't forget, we get letters, we get protests, we piss people off. And if we're doing our job, we get that stuff.
That's true.
Well, that's why you're needed. Honestly,
that's true
why
too.
you're needed.
I think it is absolutely the perfect art for right now. This should be the editorial cartoonist moment. And we've been fighting against
the end of us.
And Ted, editors hate us.
Yeah, that's true.
They hate us because they can't do what we do. Anyone can do what an editor does. Anyone can do what a reporter does, because we learned to do it in third grade.
Yeah.
We write words and stick them together. But try to tell an editor, I had this challenge once to an editor who was giving me shit about how easy my job was. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, come up with a cartoon idea every day. He says, I can't draw. I go, I'm not asking you to draw. All I'm asking, it can be a stick figure. Just come up with the idea once a day. Robbie, it lasted 2 days. And the guy couldn't do it because it's a much harder job than it looks. We're kind of goofy, and we also kind of fit into the childlike view of the world, because that part of how, that helps you do your job. I think 2026 is going to be a very black year for editorial cartooning, and a very dark.
No need to bring race into it, Scott.
It's always race with us white guys.
We're gonna close it out here. Thanks so much for watching the DMZ America podcast. We'll be back on Friday, December 26th, Boxing Day, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be back tomorrow on the air on the D Program Show with John Kiriakou at 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's Tuesday, December 23rd. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Robbie. And now it's time for the audio entertainment portion of the DMZ America podcast, where Scott Stantis, otherwise known as Golden Cord, takes us out. And with that, bye-bye.
A merry little Christmas. Have yourself through the years we'll always be together, should the fates allow. Have yourself a merry little Christmas now.